Welcome to NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series, where we focus on how financial advisors work, live, and give to their local communities and our greater financial services industry. Now, let's get started with the show.
Welcome, everybody, to Advisor Today, the podcast where we bring the best and the brightest to a platform near you, right? The Advisor Today podcast for NAIFA. We're super excited with my co-host today, JDR. How are you, JDR? Looking sharp as
Thanks,
usual.
Chris. It's always a pleasure to work with you.
Now, I'm super excited to see you, and thanks for being here and bringing a great spirit. Many of you know we've kind of revamped the podcast for the purpose of continuity and growth. And so we're looking for new and talented people. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, of how you can participate and be a part of our podcast. Zach Hewell's behind the scenes. Do we have a sponsor for today, Zach, or we're going to get right to it?
Let's get right to it.
Let's get right to it. With no further ado, I want to make an introduction. Many of you know him. Many of you like him. Many of you have heard from him, and many of you see him on screen, might have seen him on stage. He is the guy with the sharpest suits, the second sharpest suits in NAIFA. But Mr. Brian Steiner. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Good afternoon. And you're using best and brightest loosely. I'm just happy to be hanging with both you and JDR today.
You know, it's good to see you. I asked you to come on today to discuss some things that maybe our NAIFA partners out there who are listening to us might not either A, be aware of, or B, how they can help us. So this podcast is two pieces. One is we're going to do a little bit of an ask, some education and awareness, and then lean into some opportunities that exist. And so I appreciate you participating and giving us a little bit of your time today.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to be here. And I'm in a hotel. I'm on the road as we speak at a corporate event. So I am joining live from a hotel room. So I apologize for the backdrop. I'm not trying to invite too many people into my bedroom, but I am on the road today.
So, Mr. Brian Steiner, can you tell us a little bit about what you do within the NAIFA family, just to kind of clarify, like in a 30-second kind of commercial of what you do and your day-to-day work?
Sure, absolutely. I'm fortunate to wear two different hats, although the lines do cross a little bit from the responsibilities. I oversee all of our partner relations and partner engagement on the traditional NAIFA side of the aisle. And then with the integration of Life Happens into the NAIFA family, I am responsible overseeing Life Happens as the executive director and all of the good creative work that the Life Happens team has been doing for, almost over 30 years now. But to have that as part of our collection of resources, if you will, in NAIFA is pretty powerful. And with them comes a great team to work with. So both require a lot of touch points with senior leadership of a lot of our carrier companies that we're all familiar with or all work with over the years, and maintaining and developing those relationships to make sure that we're getting the appropriate support to help grease the wheels and be able to deliver on those campaigns and the advocacy, and hopefully provide resources and engagement downstream through our members and future members.
So, Mr. Steiner, let's talk about one of the main reasons I brought you here is to discuss the importance of corporate relationships. So you're on the road, and there's a lot of organization. We'll talk about being on the road and kind of the importance of having a favorable introduction. But can you highlight a little bit of the associations or organizations in which we go to with the idea that we're going to be able to build relationships, industry relationships, but we'll be able to cross over into meeting people through those relationships? You mentioned you're currently at LIMRA.
I'm at LIMRA's annual conference here in Orlando at the Gaylord. So also with Kevin Mayo, who's not on screen. He's downstairs, hopefully networking and shaking some hands and kissing some babies. But LIMRA's been one of those organizations that, NAIFA's had a strong working relationship with and their leadership for a long time. But the collaboration with LIMRA really is very deep from Life Happens. There is a very, very successful industry report called the Insurance Barometer, which off of LIMRA's site, I believe out of all the work LIMRA does, it's their #1 downloaded research report. And that has been done in conjunction with Life Happens for the last 15 years. So we're co-sponsors. In fact, it was one of Life Happens team members, Maggie Leas, who took the concept to LIMRA, a decade and a half ago. And it's through those types of collaborations that make, obviously, just our standing in the industry impactful. But when you come to events like this, having that rich relationship with LIMRA, the organization, helps, obviously not just open doors, but formulate real connections. And then ultimately, a lot of our partner firms that we're all very familiar with, their senior leadership participate in organizations like this and make meeting and connecting, a lot easier.
But you have LIMRA, and give us some other ones that you might
Sure.
attend. And I'm
I'll give a testament to yourself and our other board members and John. We've done a really great job over the last number of years, and Diane Boyle gets a special shout out for that with the what she does on the government relations side for NAIFA. Our coordination with groups like the ACLI, the American Council of Life Insurers, ACLI, their members are the companies themselves. And our collaboration is obviously NAIFA being the grassroots, we're the Agent Advisor Association. How that pairs so beautifully when we go to Capitol Hill or in our state-based initiatives, being coordinated in lockstep and having a strong dynamic relationship with them. And that has always been a healthy relationship. But I would say that over the last 5 or 6 years, kind of even going back to like the last iteration of DOL, things have really elevated in our collaboration with them, really driving from a GR side of things. And again, their board members are the C-suite typically of the carrier companies. And it puts us in a strong working relationship, visibility in our work that we're doing from a grassroots perspective. It makes its way upstream through the ACLI ranks, which has been pretty impactful. We also maintain really strong relationships with groups like IRI, the Insured Retirement Institute, which is also based in Northern Virginia, and their leadership. They've got some great folks. They're more representative from the annuity space, where ACLI focuses more, does on the annuity side, but I would say their focal point more is in the fundamental life piece. And then there's a number of other organizations like LIDMA, and some of our sister association groups like Women in Financial Services and some of the other more minority-based associations that we have had longstanding relationships with. And we try to do a really good job collectively to support each other's events and activities and be as strong resources as best we can for each other, because I think in the end, our goals are pretty similar in helping protect consumers. I think, through those collaborations, we can be, really impactful.
Brian, you've mentioned a lot of letters. And I remember 20 years ago in 2005, when I got into business, I remember taking a LIMRA test online on how well or how successful I'm going to be in this business. Yep. And then NAIFA was the next grouping of letters that I discovered on my journey as a financial planner. So my question for you is, as we all know, our story matters. What's your story? Where did you come from, and how? Because what you're doing now is pretty amazing, and we're grateful that you're at that C-suite level, rubbing elbows, doing life with some pretty amazing people in different organizations and companies. But if somebody were like, who's Brian? Where did he come from? And how was he? What were the steps that he took to be where you are today? If you don't mind, take a few minutes and share that with us. That'd be great.
Sure. Well, I started my career out of college as an advisor. So I actually was hired in with the group in Richmond, Virginia, through the Securian, then Minnesota Life Network. And I was an NAIFA member too, back in those days, which I think a lot of the companies were a lot more predisposed to be like, all right, you passed your licensing, here's your NAIFA app. We've all heard that story before from folks. So I was part of NAIFA Richmond back in the day. I kind of got led astray a little bit. And one of my regrets, not necessarily in hindsight, everything has a great, weird way of working out, but I did transition out of financial services actually even after I got past the hard years, which was, maybe a little short-sighted at the time, and maybe I didn't necessarily see the forest through the trees. But I got into software selling. I worked with a London-based software company that was in risk management and compliance, and was very active. I ran our U.S. sales team for a number of years here, and through that time in my professional life, I actually met Kevin Mayo. So Kevin was one of the leaders of North America for his previous association, the Institute of Internal Auditors. And nothing says like crazy party when you get groups of auditors together. But we had connected, and then when he came on board with NAIFA in, I believe, 2015, there was not how NAIFA was structured corporately. I don't know that there was a true business development function. And he identified kind of a need from a corporate relations perspective. So he had reached out and connected and asked to see if I was interested in making a transition and coming on board onto the association side of things. And it's not to say that was something that I envisioned as part of my professional path, but I had always truly regretted transitioning out. And this was a really interesting way to re-engage, albeit from a different side, but really kind of get back in the fold. So fantastic career decision, I believe, and have been able to work with a lot of great people that have been incredibly successful in the space. And through that role, it really was a great segue in meeting with our corporate partners through NAIFA. Who you get to meet with to raise money typically is the senior leadership of these organizations, and to be able to be in that room and tell the NAIFA story has been incredibly rewarding and powerful, and hopefully feel like we've done a pretty good job at it. And and then obviously with the integration of Life Happens and FSP into the NAIFA family, it provided some additional opportunities to get involved and spread some wings. And I had a lot of admiration for the Life Happens leadership and team, just working closely with them long before there was a merger, especially on this event circuit, like being at LIMRA today. The past leadership, we always had a close working relationship. We were big supporters of NAIFA as an organization to Life Happens. And then there was a point in time, too, where so many of NAIFA's past presidents transitioned or spent time as the volunteer chair of Life Happens. And so there's just a really long, strong working relationship and history there. And there's an opportunity to kind of also engage and be part of that story. It was an easy yes. So it's maybe a little more background than you might have wanted, John, but
No,
story.
It was perfect. No, again, folks see you and they want to know who is that guy. And so I appreciate you being transparent.
Who's this rando that
backstory.
keeps asking for money?
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, you brought up Life Happens, which I know about Life Happens, but we may have folks who are listening or watching this podcast that may not know exactly who is Life Happens, or what do they do, and specifically talk about the scholarship, or talk about the videos, talk about and how they can engage in that. If you don't mind, that'd be great.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Life Happens history predates all of us by a lot. Life Happens is a nonprofit that the mission is to educate consumers on the importance of protection products, really rooted in life insurance. Happy Life Insurance Awareness Month, by the way, as we're right in the middle of it in September here. And if anyone's on LinkedIn or spending time on social and watching all of individuals' posts and companies' posts, so many people reference Liam, and that is an initiative that is rooted and started by Life Happens. So it goes back to 1994, its inception, and has really evolved to not just talk about life insurance, but disability, long-term care, annuities, basic financial literacy. And that creative team has been creating marketing resources, stories, real-life stories, and working with folks like yourself and Chris and your clients who maybe have had a life event, and we're able to do full production around that story. And I think we can all agree, in this industry, it's not always easy talking about getting sick, dying, and getting hurt. And it's often a conversation that people need prompted to have, which also is a testament to all the good work that you guys do, because, people don't usually just go online. I mean, some do, but it'd be like, I'm going to buy life insurance today. There's usually someone behind the scenes that's kind of helping them get there to make that decision and make an educated one. And Life Happens is there to help prompt them through stories and different marketing resources to get people to think differently and hopefully pick up the phone and call folks like yourself to put the right resources in place.
Yeah, I was earlier before we got on the air, I briefly mentioned to you that I did watch the new video about the Pleasance family. If you don't mind kind of sharing a little bit of their story, and then behind the scenes, perhaps there was Connor, who's, man, is he a gift to Life Happens? We got a
great resource. I mean, Connor's fantastic behind the camera, much like Zach today. I know, helping with this podcast. The creative team at Life Happens, phenomenal. They are a wealth of resources. They're very, very talented folks that have been doing a lot of great things for a long time. And the real life story program, the Pleasance family, which we just released a few weeks ago, I guess on the front end of Life Insurance Awareness Month. Lovely family in the state of Washington, had worked with a New York Life agent in doing their planning. And unfortunately, the dad, the husband, who was a firefighter, and as the story tees up, you do think that he ends up passing away. And obviously, being a firefighter, the first thing is, it was in fighting a fire. But he did pass. He had a heart attack at the fire station. And, young family, young children, and, not to say that anything can make that circumstance easier for the family emotionally, but knowing that they had taken action and done some proper planning, it alleviates at least some of that financial concern for them, to hopefully allow them to grieve properly, not worry about house or school or paying the bills. Being able to adjust to what their new situation looks like and move forward in a really positive way. So, kudos to the New York Life Advisor and the family and taking action and the good work. It's a very compelling story. And we're always, not that we, hearing those stories, I think, help people take action. And not that we want to hear those stories, but identifying them and being able and finding people that are willing to share them can be really, really powerful. So for those listening, we're always looking to, if people have a voice that they want to share and a story that wants to be told, we're always looking to continue to build out that library. And so if you have folks or you yourselves are willing to share more, I think it can be pretty powerful in a lot of ways for the family, for the agent, and obviously for the folks on the other end that get to hear and hopefully take action and do some proper planning for themselves. I know, Chris, you were part of one last year. I know I'm the one that's being asked questions, but happy to throw it back to Mr. Gandy to maybe share a little bit about his experience in that process.
So when looking at the process, speaking of process, to get a person from, because we've all been there. If you've been in the business longer than a year or two, you've delivered a check. Yeah. And that's what makes the difference when it comes to our industry versus others. We're actually delivering money at a time when it matters. That being said, we all have different stories. How do we engage? Where do we go to website? And then what's kind of the process, so that from an expectation standpoint, if I lost a client, it's a tremendous story, I think it's a good story. What kind of stories, what's the process? Question one. And the follow-up question is, what stories are you still looking for? Are there states? Are there types of protection solutions that perhaps Life Happens is looking for? We've got plenty of these kind of stories. We're looking for that kind of story. Do you mind unpacking that a little bit?
Sure. No, absolutely. And I'm going to answer it as best I can, because I don't have we are not to be specifically targeted towards certain states, but as we, with Life Happens integrated now into NAIFA, a lot of those stories can be impactful in our government relations and advocacy work at all levels. And I know, and coordinated in with ACLI too, we have aggregated a lot of our content by state, so that if those resources need to be tapped for those purposes, they're organized appropriately. So there are states, and I don't know offhand exactly which ones we are currently targeting, but sourcing stories at a high level seems like it shouldn't be that difficult. Obviously, we've got a vast network of members, and unfortunately, life events happen all the time. But finding folks that are comfortable to be on camera and share, that can be an intimidating thing to do, especially if, depending, that's just maybe not a comfortable thing for everybody to do. And then ultimately, depending who the carrier was, in many instances, there are some compliance review things that have to happen in coordination with them for the companies to be to sign off. And most do, but things do happen and come up, and it just depends on, there's some nuances from company to company. But we've got a lot of great partners out there that are usually enthusiastic, and when we do create them, Life Happens tries to create things that are evergreen that can be used across a broad base of outlets. But then ultimately for the underwriting companies, we do special edits and things that are specific to that organization for them to use internally, that maybe Life Happens branded, but also corporately branded. You can submit stories through lifehappens.org, the website. And then ultimately, I know the NAIFA family is a close-knit group. So it's, happy to have just people reach out to us directly, or to, leaders like yourself or chapter leaders to say, hey, I might have something, or at least want to talk through it, where we've got a team that can, be available and have those conversations.
I love it. Now, the good news about the Life Happens stories is that people get to see firsthand the impact of having proper protection in place, or having it, whether it's life insurance or disability insurance or long-term care, or you get the idea. However, there are situations where people pass and they're not prepared. And I believe that's why Life Happens has a scholarship program. Do you mind unpacking that and talking about all the details regarding that?
If you want to get into the real emotion side of this business, being part of that process, that'll do it for you. Life Happens has a scholarship program called Life Lessons. Hopefully many of the listeners have seen. I know we've been, at industry events throughout the years. There have been a lot of student recipients of scholarships that have participated at chapter events, at national events, at other industry events over the years. So it's a very well-established program that is directed to rising students that lost parents that did not have insurance coverage, and what impact that had on them and their families and their circumstances. And this year, during the application process, I believe we received over 1,300 applicants, which that's a lot of that. I mean, and when you go through those and you read their submissions and listen to their videos, you want to help everybody. You desperately want to help everybody, but ultimately resources in our instance are what they are. And, we were able to issue, I think this year it's going to be over 40 scholarships. But that process, we have a village of volunteers that go through, and essentially each application is reviewed 4 or 5 times and vetted and then narrowed down. And then depending on who, a lot of our corporate partners are very involved in those programs. And then we submit, kind of that consolidated applicant pool to select companies for them to review. It's really cool. A lot of them make it part of their corporate process. So some of our like a Pacific Life and a number of others, they bring a lot of their employees and colleagues together to review and make it part of their internal process. Because I think too, just because you work at an insurance company, you're not necessarily on the front lines like you and Chris. And sometimes you can get lost on what the power of the industry and impact you can have on people's lives. And I know that there's been a lot of really positive feedback on how those organizations have got their people involved in helping make the selection. And then those scholarships awarded to those rising students. And many times they're brought into the corporate offices for meet and greets. Maybe they're willing to speak. A lot of times those kids also end up in the industry or have internships and things. So it's a really, really powerful program. We'll have distributed, I believe, over $4 million in scholarships since its inception. And I'm really, really excited with now, again, being part of NAIFA and not to take away from any of the charitable or philanthropic work that our chapters across the country do. But if there's room if there's room to add another, I mean, how awesome would it be for each of our chapters from our states to be able to, distribute a scholarship every year? Like if we're offering a scholar, just from our chapters, in addition to what the companies do to support, but I think that could just be a great unifier. I feel good. I think it could be a great way for NAIFA to be, better vested in some of the community aspects more than they are now. And I think it could be a really strong thing from a testament to the good work that we're all doing to have that as an elevated component to what our chapters are up to. So if you're listening, you'll probably hear from me soon about spreading our wings on that. But it's part of our collective vision here, and hopefully we can map that out.
So if a person wanted to, let's say they've been blessed by this business and they want to pay it forward, they want to plant a seed that grows into a tree that provides shade that they'll never enjoy, but they want to make a difference. Can they write a check to the to Life Happens? And if so, what's the means by doing so?
Much like where you can find a lot of our resources, lifehappens.org, there's a link there to the scholarship program, and you can donate directly from that site.
Very good. And by the way, one last thing on Life Happens, or we're in Life Insurance Awareness Month. I know you're a celebrity, and I get it. You're a good-looking dude and all, but didn't Life Insurance Awareness Month? Didn't we used to have celebrities in the month of September? What happened to that? And what's the vision of where we're going? And
Sure.
I'd love to get some input on that if you don't mind.
No, happy to share. Yeah, there was a long history of celebrities. I guess maybe me coming on board, I screwed it up. No, no, there have been folk, Danica Patrick, Brooke Shields, Rosalind Sanchez, a number of professional athletes going back to like Boomer Esiason. No, there were a lot of great representatives of Life Happens. It's interesting because it's not to say that we won't get back to doing that. It's kind of a mixed review because when you work celebrities, obviously the folks that were selected in the past had some sort of tie or life event that made them relevant. But in some instances, things, it's not to say that a celebrity makes you want to buy or act to get life insurance. But they are helpful in helping get eyeballs and, media and attention, which ultimately is the goal in promotion. But over the last couple of years, we've pivoted so much. I think it's higher now, but with our collaboration with LIMRA, it's not just kind of the millennial, Gen Z, the younger generations that are going onto social platforms for financial information. It's like 7 in 10 people now. So that's your baby boomers and all the like that are on social. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. And there are a lot of folks out there that, maybe good resources, maybe not. But we saw an opportunity from Life Happens to be that trusted voice in those spaces. And it's not to say that the carrier companies aren't active on those platforms, but they're insurance companies. They're, a little bit more risk adverse in most instances, or maybe not comfortable being on TikTok, at least not yet. And that's an opportunity for Life Happens to meet consumers where they are. And we've doubled down our efforts and our resources through social and working with different influencers that it has allowed us to be more targeted who and when and what we're positioning. So, if we have an initiative where we want to target parents, young parents, we can work with influencers that fit that demographic, or people in alternative lifestyle or different demographics or geographics. It allows us to be a lot more targeted. And it's really resonated with the companies. And, for Life Happens and NAIFA too, we're subsidized by members, but also corporate support. And trying to fill those appropriate gaps and be the right resource for them is paramount. And we found a lot of success in positioning our resources that way in lieu of a singular spokesperson. So probably more of a robust answer than you were looking for there, but we'll find some more. Chris, I'm sure you have some athlete friends we could dial up.
I do. I'm back. I had a power. They're doing some construction in our suite, and they totally took us out. And,
you're lucky. This is a flexible group, and your partner in crime. He just kept rolling like no big deal.
Just a JDR. Listen. You could have put a what do they call that? A flat flat something. Where they basically have a picture of you, and it's like just a cutout.
Oh, just a cutout? So it looks like you're yeah.
Yeah, it's like a flat Rob or something like that. We'll have to get one of those, Zach, where you could just set it up, put a microphone in front of it, and it's like me like smiling like this, something like that. It's like
Yeah, we'll get you a soundboard too with all of your top sayings.
right. So
Yeah.
that'd be hilarious. Hey, so I've been listening because I've been able to kind of just make sure, but my bandwidth was super low.
Yeah.
You know, Steiner, you've toured the world though. Most people don't know that you haven't always been a NAIFA guy, right? So you were a NAIFA guy. Tell us your journey though, because I think it's so interesting because most people think of NAIFA employees or NAIFA partners or NAIFA alignment. They
Yeah.
don't realize the world you've been in. So you've been on the producer side.
Yeah.
You've been on the field management and leadership side, and you've also been on the association side. So, can you tell us, not just tell us the story, because the story is what it is, but what did you learn from being on different sides of those obstacles?
Sure. Well, and I'll not to quick pivot. JDR did a great job when you were cut out. We did talk a little bit about this. So I'll spare the super detailed version of my journey. But the unique thing for me is much like you guys, super involved, obviously from a volunteer perspective on the board. And let's not kid ourselves, whether you're a leader at the state level or the local level or the national level, there's a significant commitment of time and efforts and things that you guys provide out of your business to give to NAIFA in the industry. Obviously, me being on the staff side, but having been in the field, I do think it lends an interesting perspective because I sat in your chair in the past. I've delivered death benefits. I've sold insurance. I've managed money. I've been involved in long-term care claims. Like I've been in it, and I think that helps. I don't want to say this definitively, and I don't. I think I might be the only NAIFA staff member that's been in production. So I think it helps me. I think I can be a good sounding board. It's not to say that by any stretch I have all the answers, and I haven't been in the business active in a little while. But when it comes to NAIFA creating resources or education or designation program or whatever it may be, or an event, I think I like to think of myself as a fairly good sounding board for like, yeah, that would resonate. Yeah, you don't realize, hey, companies have a ton of trainings and a ton of programs and what they offer and like what we're competing with. And like, I think I can lend a good perspective there. Especially, yeah. And I didn't really get into me being in kind of the management side, of
Right.
the industry too, which was a great experience. And, really positioned me in working with carriers direct, and the downline with some pretty established agents and advisors in the space. So yeah, I think it's lent an interesting perspective. I think it allows me to kind of bridge the gap and talk both to the corporate side of things, but then also really kind of understanding your challenges from a day to day, and then understanding the resources that groups like NAIFA and Life Happens and our collective voice have, like how that could plug in. Again, and I'm not super old. I'm not young either, but like I feel like I can kind of connect the right dots to, some of the elder statesmen of our industry, but then also kind of help be a relevant voice to the next gen too.
So Steiner, I've realized a couple of things though, since since you're not overly young and not overly old. The one thing that we have had challenges
Mm-hmm.
on is the relationships traditionally that we've had and NAIFA has been in the insurance and the insurance space,
Sure.
right? And
Yeah.
the realization that myself as a registered rep, JDR as a registered rep,
Mm-hmm.
is that the business of helping people make smart financial decisions has evolved. So how are we, or what? Let me ask you a real question. There's two parts to this question. One, the listeners that are on here, how can they help us bring in or establish relationships with RIA and broker-dealer firms? That's one.
Mhm.
Two is identify associations similar to like LIMRA and organizations like that. That's two. And three, why would, here's a layup question for you, Mr.
Mhm.
Steiner. Don't blow this one. Why would someone want to be part of an insurance association if I'm doing investments? So that's a kind of a three-part question. So if
Sure.
you want me to
Yeah.
repeat it in that order, I can do that.
No, and you're exactly right. I mean, I'd reference to like selling, being part of, placing protection, getting sick, dying, and getting hurt are tough conversations to have. A lot of people that come into this business, and maybe to be fair, I'll even point to myself and my own experiences. Managing money can be the sexy part, right? You got your management. I mean, people need guidance there too. And there are a number of people that the insurance component is a part of their portfolio in those early years as they try to accumulate assets. And then once they have accumulated assets, maybe they've positioned insure or placed insurance to their clients, in those stages, but now they're more focused on the wealth management side of things compared to the protection side of things, which, again, I think it's always important to kind of be able to focus on both. But I think the money management side, can be the sexier side, and people get in the space, whether they join a Morgan Stanley or, Merrill type concept, as opposed to coming in with more of a mutual or a career agency type model. The paths can be a little different. I think that NAIFA, to be fair, I know this may not be the softball response you're looking for, but NAIFA changed its name a number of years ago, back in the late 90s, from NALU to NAIFA, which is insurance and financial advisors. And one of the things that Brock Jolly, who we all know, he's always like hammering out, like, we gotta remember we are financial advisors too, not just rooted in protection. And sometimes we need to be cognizant of that, and maybe some of our programs and how we present ourselves. I think from a government relations perspective, NAIFA does such an incredible job of protecting both sides of the aisle. And I think that's the part of the narrative that we probably need to do a better job of telling that story, because the work that we're doing on Capitol Hill and the state houses has just as much impact in those areas than they do on the life side. And, I know that's a lot of there's internal conversations and how we position that better. And I think we're starting to do a better job. There are some other organizations out there that, stem more from the broker dealer side, whether they're independent broker dealers or insurance-based broker dealers. And sometimes there's ultimately some confusion where those organizations are really there to tend to and support the broker dealer, not necessarily the advisor, but the advisor kind of gets lumped in. And from an advocacy perspective, again, working with ACLI and the carrier side, we're simpatico and lockstep most of the time, but their concern is the carrier. NAIFA's concern is the agent and advisor. And that's the story that gets lost, where, yeah, you may think you're tied in there, but in actuality, they're doing what's in their best interest, not necessarily yours. And then to get back to it, hey, if your aspiration is to manage money, great, come on aboard, because it's still, that protection element is still going to be a component of your portfolio. And if you're gonna do it, you should learn to do it well, build out your centers of influence, work with some really great people. And in the end, if that's not where you want to focus your business, you've got this incredible network of people, a rich community where you can refer and develop some great additional resources and outlets to push business, and vice versa. Because it's not just managing money or selling life insurance. I mean, think about like the Medicare marketplace. I guarantee every single one of you is starting to get pounded with like Medicare questions because of, where the aging population that we have, and knowing what to do with that. that's not someone, I mean, that's probably not your day-to-day space, and you probably don't want it to be. But a place like NAIFA is a great place where you can connect the dots, develop those resources, and I think, develop those specialists to help make your practice more robust, make you more of an indispensable resource to the client, and you can have a good place to kind of refer that work and build your business.
Steiner, that's a great point. We can't drive forward looking backwards, and the future is ahead of us. And
Right.
so our ability to be able to adapt,
Yeah.
and the ability for us to be nimble enough
Yeah.
to embrace a space that we might have not have been um, uh, founded on, but
Sure.
it's where financial services is going. And obviously, JDR can speak a little more about it from his side, but from my side, for myself and the advisors that I mentor, teach, and also work with me, it's important for them to be open to the conversation of why risk management is a significant part of someone's portfolio, but at the same time, we can't negate the fact that investments is one of the things that people want to talk about because it is one of the most attractive things
Sure.
for them to talk about. It's the sound bites are on.
Yep.
Mad money. They turn on TV. They're like yelling at the screen. They do those type of things, and so that's what gets the clicks. Right? How do you make money, right? And
Yeah.
so risk management doesn't always get the clicks. And so at the end of the day, when people say, "What association? I got $1. What association should I join?" They might not see NAIFA is the place I should join, right?
Sure.
Because they're like, I have this one over here, I have this one over here, I have this one over here, and I can't divide all three. So perhaps NAIFA thinks outside of the box and lives outside of the box, where we build relationships with the Investment Association of America, and we build relationships where there is a way for people to have continuity of both. And maybe that makes sense for us as an association as we continue to grow. JD?
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like we're coming up towards the end. Chris, you ready for lightning round with our guest?
I don't want to ask Steiner any questions like that. You ask Steiner questions like that, you never know what you're going to get. So,
well,
that's test me. This would be coming to be blind too, because I've got no. I don't know what you'd be. I have no idea what's.
All right, I'll give you a softball to start off with if you're ready. So, so Gandy talked about legends in our industry, and Joe Jordan is a legend. John Newton Russell Award winning, wrote a book about life of significance, not success, because a lot of advisors look at themselves and look how successful I've been, and it's not about success; it's about significance. What kind of impact have you had? That's it. That's the book right there.
I've traveled with Joe recently. I've got one of those too.
Yes. Okay. So my question for you is, I don't know if you've written a book, but if you wrote a book about your story, Brian Steiner's story, okay, what would your book be titled? And if they were to make it into a movie, what actor would play you? You can pick any actor you want. So bring it. What you got?
All right. So I'll do there's actor Josh Lucas. He was in like Sweet Home. I know I'm gonna like do rom-com stuff. He was in like Sweet Home Alabama, and he was in Ford versus Ferrari. He was one of the execs. I don't know. He's been around. So I think I've been told there's some similarity in our look. So I'll go with him. If I was, what would it be? I've made some career changes, and then recently too gotten involved in some endurance activities, sports competitions, and I think it's even more than a movie, but like a podcast. If I was going to do a podcast, I think it would be called Starting Somewhere, where it's just that initial like first step, and like whether it's making a transition in your career or a significant life change or something where people are often afraid to kind of like make that move, but like there's so many powerful stories out there of like how that you were doing this and then all of a sudden you're have a successful like what happened. It's like but all about where you got started, just like taking that leap of faith, jumping in the deep end of the pool. So I would say that. Hopefully that doesn't give away my podcast idea, where there isn't actually a podcast right now called Starting Somewhere that someone then in fact starts. So maybe I should take action and do it.
JDR, did you say that was a softball question?
Yeah, man, I got some heat. If you want heat, that was my easy one.
that was like the ninth inning coming down.
How'd I do? I
A
thought
really
was.
tough question, man. It's like, Steiner, what's your favorite food, brother? Like, what do you like to eat?
Oh, I can answer that one too.
Go ahead.
I mean, the NAIFA lore is I'm a late night cheeseburger eater. I love a delicious cheeseburger. In fact, at a NAIFA board meeting, um, some of the rumblings of me eating cheeseburgers on the road where I've been like, we've been in Vegas for events and then like it's way too late. And then I run into somebody and they're like, there's Steiner sitting by himself eating a cheeseburger. At a NAIFA board dinner a couple years ago, Keith Gillies, when he was on the board, as a joke, when everyone was brought appetizers, I was brought my own like double cheeseburger at like a very like nice restaurant as my appetizer. I didn't order it. It was part, so but I do love a cheeseburger.
Wow. Okay, JDR, go ahead. I have one more.
Yeah. So, man, I want to be nice to you now because Gandy just called me out and I thought I was being generous
You
and
can do whatever
friendly.
you want, JDR.
So,
Fire away.
hey, so I asked this question of my closest friends, and I consider you a close friend. So, you this today's your last day. Good Lord's calling you home, and you got
Yeah.
one day to make it matter. What are you gonna do with your final day, and how do you want to be remembered?
Ooh, I was late to the Limerick conference, not to get too sappy. My father passed away not too long ago, and we just did his celebration of life this past weekend. So I actually spoke and prepared remarks for that talked, not about what my last day would look like. My last day I would spend with my wife and my children, my two daughters, Rose and Grace. We would probably go on a daddy-daughter date, and however, whatever they wanted to get up to, I would probably just fall in line and spend my day with them, whatever that would be. As far as what I would want to be remembered for, someone that did what they said they'd do. But I like to think of myself as a pretty lively, loud. I don't want to say loud like personality, but someone that helped bring the best out in people. Make people feel good. Someone that kind of cared. So I don't know. It is a tough one. Not that's the ninth inning one.
You got the eighth inning before. You didn't even get the seventh inning stretch. I mean,
know.
you got the eighth inning. You got the ninth inning.
Yeah.
Steiner, your most memorable moment in this industry so far?
From which side, as a producer or from the NAIFA side?
Say both. It's your world. We just live.
I had one of my first clients, again, coming out of school, and you don't know what to do. You don't know what's ways up. You're just in survival mode. But I worked with a woman, about a month after she came on as a client, her mother died. She thought after that happened and the inheritance and things and the challenges that she was just going through the estate process, like that process, she thought it would be really important because I was not mature enough to have asked, but she thought it was important for me to get introduced to her children in that process, which we did, and developed a good relationship with fairly quickly, a good relationship with them. 3 months after that introduction, the mother died. So the grandma died, the mother was the client, the grandma died, then the mother died. And then we were, again, given the extreme circumstances, positioned to make sure that everyone was taken care of in that process. So that was a pretty impactful moment for someone really just getting started. And it's something that kind of stuck with me. And after I transitioned away from the space, was one of the, when I look back and say, I kind of wish I would have stuck it out longer. I often reflect back on that and the impact that we had in working with that family. On the on the association side, I would say just a powerful moment, and this is going to be I think something that all the listeners and you guys, hopefully, if you have experience and if you haven't, you need to. When I came on board with NAIFA and I did my first visits to Capitol Hill, and that was wild because it's so many levels. One, your voice is heard, and just that access that, if you've not been privy to it or educated on it, can seem like a distant, like, oh yeah, like I'm going to go meet with, just go meet with Senator so and so. You're like, okay, I'm so disconnected from that reality. Like, how does that happen? And then realizing that the mechanism to do it is right there in front of you. And then having the accessibility, having those intimate conversation type moments where, oh yeah, your voice, not just in financial services, but like your voice can really be heard. And then seeing kind of the collective push of all the NAIFA folks panning the hill, made you say, you know what we're doing makes a ton of sense and matters. And I don't know, that really resonated and stuck with me. And when I talk to companies and when I talk to individuals about NAIFA, I often point to that because people don't realize the impact that their voice can have. But then the other side of it, and I'm saying this now as an afterthought because I'm not a producing agent anymore. Man, going back and being able to leverage that with your clients and prospects about, I was meeting with, representatives talking about your business or how this can impact you. And then you're having that conversation with the client. Like, I just have to think that your standing in that conversation just kind of goes through the roof, your credibility. So I think it's just really powerful kind of both ways. But for me at NAIFA, that was, that was a really cool moment.
Pretty awesome. Steiner, do you have anything for NAIFA Nation other than one, you need introductions, we need introductions to associations and to leadership within organizations. If we can leverage relationships we've already got that are loyal, true blue NAIFA members.
Yep.
To let them know.
I mean, a couple layers to that, Chris, and thanks for that's a good softball. Listen, we are doing everything we can to strengthen our corporate relations, but to be fair, we can't do it alone. And if you're a producing agent and you have good relationships with senior leadership, whether if it's, it's a regional folks or to the C-suite, and it doesn't have to be with the carriers, as we said, we need to do a better job of working with the mutual fund companies and the broker dealers, both on the insurance side and the independent side and the RIAs. We're a community that cares. And if we all kind of go that together, I think we can definitely make a bigger dent and impact in this industry as a collective. And hey, man, one of the things about that I don't understand is you guys have hard conversations with clients all the time. And you guys are awesome at it. And that's not just the two of you. This is everybody listening. Go down the hall in your office. And if someone's not a member, it's an easy question. Just be like, hey man, join. If you're in this industry more than a hot minute, it's not a heavy lift. And when you look at professional associations, we tend to make things overcomplicated. You guys are putting protection in place to protect your clients. NAIFA is the protection for your business. If you show up, you're going to learn something and be a little better at what you do. And if you get involved, I can help you stand out amongst your peers. It doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. And for people that ask tough questions for a living, going down the hall and recruiting and asking people to join, we would be significantly larger in no time.
JDR, do you have anything else for NAIFA Nation before I close this down?
Brian, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you, your transparency, your willingness to lead, and your service to NAIFA, to Life Happens, and to our greater association, our greater industry, I should say. You are a living legend, and it's truly an honor to do life with you. So thank you for your time today.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to chat and connect. And as I said before, you guys give a lot of time, and that is not lost on myself and the other staff members at NAIFA and Life Happens. It takes a village to do what we're all doing. And I know that, the commitment that you guys make in time away from families and business is pretty significant. And I appreciate it. I know that the rest of the staff does too. So thank you for you.
with that being said, thanks all of you for tuning in to Advisor Today podcast. If you heard something on here you liked, rewind it. Check us out on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. We're everywhere now. So we have been downloaded over, I believe, 5 million times somewhere, somehow. So we appreciate and thank all of you for listening.
That's awesome.
Continuing to listen and be a part of this. Remember, it's Life Insurance Awareness Month. Continue to post the content, to continue to share the story indirectly. You could go on to Life Happens and repost the content, make comments about it, or you could just create a video yourself and tag us, NAIFA, in it, or tag someone like myself, JDR, Brian Steiner, and we'll make sure we continue that loop as we keep going. The one ask I have for all of you is that we want to engage people that listen to this into the podcast. So me and my technical crew, Zach and I, we come up with a solution to do that. And so we will be going around with a QR code. So then you could actually sign up to be part of the podcast. We want to hear from all of you. We want to tell your story. We want to tell the success you've had, the opportunity. And so as we continue to go around the country, that QR code will be able to actually sign up. And then someone from our show will call you, give you a brief interview, and then we would be happy to hear your story, because at the end of the day, our collective story is what we're telling. So as I close us out today, I remind you, so this one's for Brian Steiner. We're starting somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Every success story begins in the same place with the first step. You don't need the entire map or the entire story just to start. You just need to have the courage to move. And at NAIFA, we believe where you start today is a perfect place to begin. So take that call, schedule that next meeting, serve your clients, and remember, legacy isn't built overnight. It's built with one intentional step after the other. Until next time, thank you for tuning into Advisor Today, the podcast. We look forward to seeing you next week, same place, same time. Stay on task, start somewhere, and stay on purpose. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series. Make sure to subscribe to get future episodes. And if you're interested in coming on the show, let us know.